Alright, for this ranking, I'm going to do something different. Instead of ranking all of the lifts from worst to best, I'm going to rank each individual lift on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. There are some factors that are going to come into play. For instance, the terrain the lift serves, how good the terrain is, the efficiency of the lifts, the speed of the lifts, and the capacity, you name it. So without further ado, let's get started. Double runner east and west. For this, I will be talking about both the double chairlifts, the east side and the west side, because even though the east side was running, the west side wasn't, and they're kind of the same thing. They both start at the main base, and the east side unloads right at the Skyline chairlift, while the double west side has a mid-station where the east side ends and continues up a little further towards the Bateau T-bar. Both lifts mainly serve the beginner terrain on the lower half of the mountain, and you can access the upper mountain via the Skyline quad. And there's also a mini terrain park underneath the lift line, so there's really not much substance other than just getting out of the base. There are plans to replace both doubles with a modern high-capacity lift. Hopefully it'll be high speed. I rate this a 2 out of 5. King Pine. King Pine is a fixed grip quad on the eastern side of Sugarloaf Mountain. Built by Vorvig, it goes from the top of Whiffletree and up to the eastern end of the Spillway crosscut. It mainly serves advanced and expert terrain, but there is one intermediate trail called Ramdown. When I was there, Ramdown was the only trail that was open most of the time while the other runs were closed, even though they did look like you could ski down them, which I was kind of bummed about. Further east are some really cool glades on Bracket Basin and Burnt Mountain. They're just a little hike away from the lift. Something else interesting about this lift is that in 2015, it got involved in a rollback incident. The old gearbox failed, so they had to build a new drive terminal, and since then it's been running smoothly. So I'd give this a 4 out of 5. Sawduster. This double chair is mainly a short access lift for guests at the Sugarloaf Inn, but it also serves some beginner terrain as well. One thing I really like about this lift is how you fly right through the base village. On your left you have the main base lodge, and on the right you have the Sugarloaf Mountain Inn, as well as another restaurant. While this lift really doesn't do much, honestly, there's nothing like that sense of flying over top of the people over the village. It just feels so charming, which is why I'm rating this lift a 3 out of 5. Skidway. This is a Vorvig double that services a beginner area. That's it. That is all you need to know. Where do I even begin? This is like the opposite of what a beginner lift should feel like. First off, the chairs are not comfortable. Second of all, the lift runs really slow. And third, the lift constantly slows and stops all the time. It's just bad. It's bad. There's no reason to ride it except to get the credit. This desperately needs an upgrade so that the beginner experience can be close to top-notch at Sugarloaf. I'm rating this a 1 out of 5. Skyline. This Doppelmayr quad replaced 2 Vorvig doubles, and this lift serves the main front face of Sugarloaf. This chairlift primarily serves advanced and expert terrain on the upper half of the mountain, but it also serves a few intermediate trails, and you can access the Timberline lift, which serves the main summit of the ski area. While I do wish this lift was high speed, I really enjoy the terrain off of this lift. The terrain is just right. There's so many options to take. Some are filled with moguls, while others are just straight cruisers. And the speed of this lift is not that bad. It has a loading conveyor to help with loading efficiency, and it allows the lift to run at a faster pace. So thus, I'm giving this lift a 4.5 out of 5. Snubber. This Vorvig triple mainly serves ski-in and ski-out access to the condos, and it features a mid-station halfway through that allows for both loading and unloading. And that's all I've got. The run under this lift is way too flat, and it's also way too long. How fun is it to traverse a long, flat terrain that's basically a mile long, and you just push, push, push? That's exactly what the Snubber run feels like. I just don't like it. And the lift is just way too slow. There's nothing else to it. 1 out of 5. SuperQuad. This lift is a 1994 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed quad that starts at the base area and runs 2/3 of the way up the western part of the main face. This lift mainly serves intermediate and advanced terrain, and from the top, skiers can ski down to access Timberline, or they can ski down to Bullwinkles in the West Mountain base. This lift usually gets crowded in the morning and early afternoon, but it usually dies down around the end of the day. This lift gets a 3.5 out of 5. Timberline. This 1997 Borvik quad runs along the ridge near the top of the mountain and ends where the old gondola used to end. While this lift mainly serves beginner and intermediate terrain, there are several expert snowfields at the top. When they're open, it's the only above tree line skiing on the East Coast, which I think is really cool. It also gets really windy at the top, so it's not uncommon for this lift to be put on wind hold every once in a while. So I'm hoping that it gets replaced with a Bubble 6 or Bubble 8 at some point to mitigate those issues. So for this, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. West Mountain. This 1984 Borvik starts at the West Mountain base, and it used to go all the way up to Bullwinkles. But as of 2023, this lift will be shortened to where the mid-station is. And that's that. Yeah, do I need to say more? This lift was pretty much the longest fixed grip chairlift at Sugarloaf, and now they're shortening it to the point where it doesn't have any use at all. Other than to just get you out of the West Mountain base and put you on over to the new West Mountain expansion when it comes into play next season. Bucksaw Express is literally going to take all of this lift's terrain. Like when the Bucksaw Express is built, at the top of Bucksaw Express is where the West Mountain Double used to end, so you could theoretically ski down the whole West Mountain Trail from the Bucksaw lift. And this lift will exist just to exist, and you'll get nothing out of it. 1 out of 5. Whiffletree. This 1997 Garaventa C-Tech high-speed quad is Sugarloaf's second high-speed lift. Like SuperQuad, it runs from the base, but it goes up the eastern side, ending at like the lower mid-mountain. From the top, you can access King Pine and Skyline lifts. This lift mainly serves green and blue runs, so a lot of beginners and intermediates tend to use this area. But if you want the more difficult runs, just head up King Pine or Skyline. Lines can get pretty long in the morning, but it usually dies down by the afternoon. This lift gets a 3 out of 5. So yeah, the lifts aren't that great, but the terrain at Sugarloaf is so fun. I'm hoping that Sugarloaf invests in their lift system so that most of the areas can have high-speed lift service, so that it doesn't take too long to lap most of the terrain. But that is a lift ranking for Sugarloaf. Let me know what you think of this new format. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I want to hear your thoughts about Sugarloaf in the comments. Stay tuned because there's more to come. Until next time.